So this is how to change the thermostat on a 2008 Buick Lacrosse CX. It was 3.8 liter. Move the oil spout. Take that plastic cover off, set it to the side. Put the oil spout back on so debris doesn't get back in there. You do gotta try to do this without hitting the camera. Do want to get like a rag or something in there. It's what I do. You don't have to do it, but just to help collect some of that spill, because stuff's going to want to spill out. One bolt. And just loosen that bolt. It's pretty cold outside. Tried my camera pod, it just wasn't working for the angle. So sorry about it all going all over the place. But that's the two bolts you want to remove. That bolt on the top, you don't want to remove that. That's your bleeder screw. We'll be using that later when we put coolant back in. So that's my thermostat. It is definitely stuck in the open position, and this was a fail-safe thermostat. See, I had a P0128 code, and usually the common problem is a stuck open thermostat. So I I'll replace the thermostat. So I went and bought a fail-safe at AutoZone. Put this in my car. I still had the issue, so I took the next logical step. I checked the coolant sensor. Was dumb. I should have tested with the multimeter before I replaced it, but I replaced it, and I still got the P0128 code. So then I replaced the pigtail, the connector for the thermostat, for the coolant temperature thermostat. What am I calling here? The coolant temperature sensor. I replaced that, and then I checked it with the multimeter. So I got the 5 volts from the wire, which is, let's see, this wire right here. Let's see if I can point at it. This right here, you can disconnect it, and right up here, just stick 2 leads in there and turn the car on, but don't crank the engine, and test for 5 volts. If you get 5 volts, that's good. And then the other end, you just test, you set your multimeter on ohms, and then you test for 5 ohms. And if you get 5 ohms, you're good. So I'm like, okay, I tested that. I tested the ohms and the voltage. They both checked out. And I'm like, well, it must be my thermostat. But I said, I'll take one additional step. I'll check the coolant. You can actually put the red lead inside the coolant, like right here. Just stick your red lead in, make sure it's contacting fluid, coolant, and then put your negative lead on the battery terminal. Let me see if I can, on the negative battery terminal. And it should be low, it should be below 3 volts. It was way below 3 volts. It was like 1.4. So I knew my coolant wasn't acidic, and plus I did a visual inspection of my coolant, and your coolant inside your engine should just look like the coolant inside a new bottle of coolant. Might be a little bit dirtier, but if it looks like that bright orange color, because I have the orange coolant, or if it's a bright green color, then you're good. Your coolant's good. So I thought to myself, I went online, I checked reviews on these fail-safe thermostats, and I saw a lot of negative reviews of like them failing within days, sometimes weeks and or months. Well, this one's definitely open, and it shouldn't even be open because my engine, I just drove it around back for 15 seconds, so it wasn't even it wasn't enough time to even get the engine hot. But this has definitely failed in the open position. So I'm glad I checked it. I'm glad I got it on video just to show you guys that these fail safes are junk. So what I did do, I got a new thermostat, like an OEM one. Well, it says it's OEM. So I'm going to stick that in there. If I can get it out of the damn box. And this one I already tested. I tested it. It opens, it closes. All I did was put it in the pot and boiling water. And it opened, and then as soon as I took it out, it started closing. See, you can see there's no gaps. There's no gaps in there. This, you can tell it's open. it's like wide open. Look at that. I can see my finger between there. Like, it is stuck in the open position. So now these thermostats, they have like a jiggle on them. It's an air bleeder. So if you have air in your system, the air will go through that. So it's important how you position this. So let me get it in there. So I'll install that. It says to install it at the 12 o'clock, but unfortunately, which is the 12 o'clock on this? I would assume that's the 12 o'clock because that's the up position. But is it? I would say the way it's tilting, that this would be the 12 o'clock. So that's probably how you'd want to install it, because I see how it's tilting upwards. It's going from low to high. So you want that to be at the high point, that jiggle. It's called a jiggle or an air bleed. But all right, so we just got to slap the harness back on, thermostat housing back on, and then fill it with coolant. And as you can see, this is tilted at an angle. So if you just stick a funnel in there and try to fill it, the coolant's going to want to flush out. You just can't get a proper flush with that. So try to invest in one of these. They're like 20-30 bucks. I got mine on Harbor Freight. I think you can get them cheaper on Amazon. Ain't gonna need that. Got all my stuff here. Got a nice little plug in there. And the way this works, you find the right adapter piece that fits in there. And that one will do the trick. Then it comes with a screw cap, but it has a bunch of different setups for different radiator types. That's your Tighten cap. Use that to tighten it. Little elbow, and then that goes right in. So let me see here. I'm gonna pour some coolant in it because I lost some coolant taking that hose off. As you can see, it's not leaking or anything, so that's good. Don't put a lot in there. I want to stick this somewhere where it kind of offers I had this thing, the problem with these, when you use the elbow, they can fall over, so you want to keep an eye on it. See, when I squeeze the hose, I'm just squeezing that big upper radiator hose. And when I turn my engine on, this thing's gonna suck some of that down in. Okay, I let the engine run a little bit. I don't see any more bubbles. Also, that bleeder screw on the top right there, it's a 7mm. I just opened that a little bit. As you can see, it's a little wet at top. You don't want to open it all the way. Just keep turning it slowly till you start seeing coolant come out of it. That way you know you're getting the bubbles out. And this plug here, you just stick that down in that. Then you can open your jug of coolant. Pull that off. Stick it in your jug. I'm going to do it on the ground just so it doesn't. I don't want to spill it and waste it. I still have coolant in there. A little trick I'll do. Squeeze the hose, push some more back up it, because there's coolant in that elbow. And it looks like the coolant's out of the elbow. So just take that off. Take this off. Throw these parts back into your container. It comes with the nice lid you can put on top. You're good to go. You just need to wash it off. Rinse it under a sink or something. Now, as you can see, coolant's right up to the top. Check the cap. It's not that bad. A little bit of stuff on there. Like I said, I already checked my coolant. So I know the coolant's not the problem. Hopefully it's not like a plugged radiator, clogged radiator. Make sure your cap's on nice and tight. And then if I look to the side here, see if I can catch it in the camera. See on the side of the housing there, I don't see nothing wet, so that's not leaking, so I got it screwed in properly. And then this just comes off again. Stick that back on. This goes down at an angle. Turn it, and there, your thermostat's done. And then make sure your coolant in your reservoir is at the line, and I can see it. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but I can. It's there. take your fail-safe crappy thermostat and take it back for a refund because they are junk. Hopefully this fixes the problem. Okay, the problem with my P0128 code, like as soon as I would floor it, my temperature gauge would go down. So it was basically a stuck open thermostat. Now that I'm flooring it, my temperature's going up, which is a good sign that this new thermostat I put in, the OEM, is working. And it's hard to find where I live, it's hard to find a nice open road to floor it. ETC up to 70, and I'm flooring it going 60, which is probably just slow for a lot of you folks, but I don't like to drive rapidly fast. This guy turning off, and temperature is going up 73. And this is being measured in Celsius, so I believe, if I remember correctly, I want to be between 75 and 105 degrees for normal engine operating temperature. And I think the temperature on this thermostat opens up at 192 degrees Fahrenheit. Celsius, I don't know exactly what that is. I'm an English guy, so, but look it up. The good news is like my thermostat, my temperature gauge is not going down when I drive, like on highway. So that's a good indication that it works. Now, I didn't clear the engine light yet. I got so tired of clearing the engine light after all the repairs I had to make. But this is what happens. Like the issue said the P0128 most common cause is a stuck open thermostat. I went out and got a new thermostat. It was not OEM. It was the fail-safe. I stuck that in and thought I was good to go. I still had the issue of the temperature going down. I'm driving slow now. I'm going up a dirt road. So that threw me off. That led me to believe that, okay, it's the coolant sensor. So I took the coolant sensor out, replaced that, still had the issue. Then that led me to believe it's the wiring. So I replaced the pigtail, the connector. That didn't work, and then I'm like, well, you know what, I gotta stop being lazy and do the troubleshooting techniques. So whipped out the multimeter. I tested the voltage coming from the battery through the harness, where I showed you earlier where you could disconnect it. You should get around 5 volts. I got 5 volts. And then when you test in the reverse, you test the wiring that goes right to the coolant sensor. You put it on ohms, and then you test the ohms. You should get around 5 ohms, and I got 5 ohms, and I'm like, okay, that worked out, and then the other thing worked out, and then I watched the video on YouTube how to test your coolant to make sure your coolant's not good, because if it gets too old, it gets acidic. And there's actually a volt test you can do with it. To use your voltmeter, you just stick the red lead in the radiator, make sure it's contacting the fluid, and then put the negative lead on the negative battery terminal, and you should get below 3 volts. If you're below 3 volts, you're good. I was getting like 1.5 volts, and plus my coolant looked clean. And so it just led me to believe, like, well, the thermostat, the new one that I just put in, has to be bad. Well, as you saw, I took the fail-safe thermostat out, and the dang thing was stuck in the open position. What a pain in the ass. All that time I wasted. So let's stop up here, and I'm going to check my... I can't see. I have the camera on the scanner, but I can't physically see it myself. So I got to pull over and check the temperature. So you guys already know what the temperature is, and I don't. So, but my dashboard gauge is going up, so that's a good thing. So let's see. My ETC is at 80. So we're good. We are good to go. Yes. This problem is solved. So I hope all my bantering and talk, I know I like to talk too much in my videos, but I hope you stayed along, and I hope this helps fix your problem.